Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so you can squad up in the comments. And man, if anybody knows how to drop trailers where you see so much but you still don't know what the heck's going on, it's Marvel. So the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer dropped today, and I got people left and right asking me about the villain for this movie. And that's what we're going to talk about for the most part of this video. It's not going to be a long one. And I feel like it is much needed for me to break down the origin of Ghost, who is the villain of this movie, because we really haven't talked about him on this channel. And it really hasn't been a reason to talk about him up until this point. And even though he's not one of your greatly popular characters, he's appeared in a number of issues of like Avengers, Amazing Spider-Man, Invincible Iron Man, I want to say Dark Avengers as well too. But for the most part, if you want to read up on him, it'll be in Thunderbolts. But diving right into his origin, when his origin is given to us in Thunderbolts issue 151, it's kind of a broken story because it's told by him after a number of events and after his transformation. And as far as where he is in his headspace, he's not all the way there as a result of all of this. And I don't even think it's been revealed like his real name. And at one point in time, he was referred to by the name John Morley, but in any of his flashbacks, his name is blanked out. And it's possible that him blanking it out is to keep the information from Moonstone, because he told her he'd share the story with her, but he wanted to block out anything around so nobody else would hear. But it's still possible that he kept some information from his story from her as well. And with him currently being a member of the Thunderbolts, she just wanted to get more information about him and get to know who she's working with. And from there, he agrees to share his past. But at this point in his life, he was lead data engineer for this huge company called Dopespill Systems. And this is like one of those companies where some of the board members were really hands-on. Like they would come down and see and visit the different employees, which was really hand over fist, like a micromanaging kind of strategy, but they wouldn't really come off like that unless something was going wrong. And so what the board members ended up doing, they told him about this new project the company's starting, and they wanted him to lead it, not out of any respect or acknowledgement, but they just know that he's the best person for the job. And he even admit, like in retrospect, looking back on everything, he knew that he had just been brainwashed, so to speak, with so much flattery, and he had been gassed up with all this fake love and appreciation, and that's what made him go ahead and take the project. And so when he took the lead on this new project, he dived into it day and night, just really trying to make that impression. And what he ended up developing, which was even greater, was a processor that could enter a flux state where it would be intangible. And this would serve the purpose of making the processor be able to hold more in its cache, like an insane amount of data in its cache, which in return would make it insanely faster than any other processor that would come out years after. And so a little while after he led on this project, this girl named Shayna took interest in him. She would compliment him on his work, she would always come back and check on him, and at times she would get chewed out by directors from just spending so much time at his desk. But it's like, what do you expect? You always at my desk, ain't you got a job to be doing? You supposed to be somewhere? But he literally slaved day and night on this project, and sometimes he would never leave the office. Like he would stay there and use like the executive showers. And they had really bumped up the pressure on him because one, the company announced the product before it was even ready, and they were so confident in it that they put all their chips in. So if this project didn't work, or if it was pushed back indefinitely, millions of dollars would have been lost and the company's reputation would have been destroyed. But he was able to grind it out and get back to at least being on schedule, but even still he needed a vacation or he's gonna burn himself out. So the board members agreed to give him like a week off to get his head straight and then come back and work on the project. But the first day that he was gone, Shayna checked on him, and having her around really encouraged him to work with the company even more, because he finally felt a connection with somebody that worked there. And because of her, when he went back, days wouldn't seem as long as they used to, and he really found a new stride in his work. And so after completing the project, all of the board members were happy with him again, and one of them even let him hold his yacht. But the thing is, with the board members, between the three of them, they've really been playing this good cop, bad cop thing. And really they've been using that as a form of manipulation just to push him into getting them the result that they wanted. Because for them, it was all about money and it was all about the company. And so from here, he went and took Shayna on a real vacation. Business was booming for the company because they finally had a product done where they can put out some numbers, brag on his performance, and also set a release date. But not too long after heading back into work, he didn't hear from Shayna, she didn't come to his desk as usual, she was nowhere to be found. And it was then when his colleagues told him that she was killed in a gas explosion. And he was devastated from here because he really cared for this girl. She was the only person at the company that he felt like he really connected with. But after her death, he slipped into a deep depression. He buried himself in his work as an attempt to just make the pain go away. And this quickly turned into an unhealthy obsession because he started experimenting this new technology on himself. And this was really just with the idea of burying himself in his work and just taking it further and pushing it further and further. And even previously, he would test the beta version of his projects on the company system, and this time wasn't much different. And what he's able to do now is physically enter that flux state that the processor could that he'd invented. And when accessing the vast amount of company files, he also came across the different security feeds where he finds out that Shayna had been hired by the board members in order to seduce and manipulate him. And not just that, but he got like video and audio of her asking for more money. Like, it was crazy. But in that footage, he also figured out why they killed Shayna. because she threatened the board members with going public with the bribe overall. But he also noticed that the board hired the same contract killer that killed Shayna to come to his apartment and kill him too. And had he not figured out this information, he wouldn't have been there, because the only reason he left the office was to go home and get his stuff so he can get out of town. But when the contract killers blow up the apartment, they believe him to be dead, but this is really only the beginning. And it's crazy because like from here, it turns into your classic hunt for revenge, because this explosion didn't actually kill him, well obviously. It just made him more powerful, and it released him from needing his physical body by completing the process that began when he found out all this information in the first place. And there's no telling if they'll really take this route in the film, but I think it'd be really cool if they actually use the factor of him haunting the board members. And I guess that's just a bit of the horror fan in me kind of coming out a little bit. And I think it's because I want to visually see these scenes play out when he actually taunts them before he kills them. And how he saved the board member that pretended to be his friend for last, and when Neil asks him, "How did you survive the explosion?" he just responds, "I didn't." I just think that'll be so crazy. But yeah, that's really his origin all in a nutshell. And like I mentioned before, most of his information you can find in the Thunderbolt series if you want to read up on him before the film comes out. But another thing to know about his character is that he didn't just stop there. And for quite some time, he considered Tony Stark to be his enemy, mainly because he viewed Stark Industries to be very similar to Omniscient. And Ghost really wanted to take down any type of company that was anything like Omniscient, and that's the main reason he attacked Tony. And this is one of the times in Thunderbolts where we really get to see this in action, after he's had his power for some time and he knows what he's doing. And because he's a full-blown technopath, he enters Tony's suit with little to no effort, but Tony doesn't resist. He's like, "Here, you don't have to hack me, hands up, take a look, see everything." And that's really Tony's best defense, because there's nothing that he really needs to hide. Perhaps some shameful footage here and there, but nothing villainous. And he lets him know that he's not a corporate conglomerate anymore. He's not broke, but he's no longer tied to doing business with these companies that put Ghost through everything that he's been through. And at his core, in spite of his past even, Ghost is a reasonable person. And from there, he tells Tony that he no longer considers him to be his enemy. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Hopefully I answered your questions about his past and his origin. That Ant-Man trailer was crazy. I think I'm gonna go back and watch it like 30 times. Okay, not 30, maybe like 19 or something, you know, a much more reasonable number. But if you guys were also wondering some of the stuff about Ant-Man after Captain America broke him out of the Raft prison and how Scott Lang was able to be in hiding during this time, I did a video talking about a lot of that not too long ago with the release of the Prelude comics, which help out because they tell us what happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in between the films. And I'll leave a link down in the description, so if you guys want to check that out, it'll fill you in with the events leading up to Infinity War without spoiling the Ant-Man movie. But that's it for this one, guys. If you learned something new, smash that like button. And if you're just new here altogether, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the new spills every week. I also got links up so you guys can check out my other videos. Be sure to check those out, and we'll do it again next time. Alright, later.